Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I'm Luke, a CFA Charterholder. Today we're going to be discussing a topic from the corporate issuers section of the material. So we're going to be looking at potential conflicts of interest that can arise between the two primary providers of capital to a company. So the lenders that provide the debt capital and the shareholders that provide the equity capital. They're both looking for returns on their money and returns on their capital, but they both can have different objectives, and this can create conflicts of interest due to their differences in risk profile and appetite for return. So yeah, we'll discuss everything related to those conflicts. Let's get into it. It's the differing risk and return profiles of lenders and shareholders that can create conflicts of interests between the two sets of capital providers. So shareholders want management to make strategic decisions which maximize company value, as an increase in company value will increase the shareholders' return. Shareholders benefit from company value increasing because it leads to capital appreciation in their stock and will lead to higher returns for them. So they want management to make decisions that lead to an increase in the firm value. That's effectively what they want, as that will lead to an increase in return and it will lead to an increase in residual profits that the business are entitled to receive. So firms and managers that make decisions that increase firm value will lead to increased profits, and increased profits will lead to increased residual profits, which are the profits left over once all other stakeholders in the business have been paid. And those residual profits go to the shareholders in the form of a dividend. So this will often encourage managers to take on higher risk, invest in speculative projects and initiatives that may increase company value, but also have high failure rates and could lead to financial distress and consequences for the company if they are unsuccessful. If the project is successful, shareholders directly benefit from the upside. So yeah, shareholders will push managers to invest in higher risk projects that have significant upside if they go well, so financial upside for the company and the shareholders, but also have high risk attached to them. So if they do fail, then they could lead to significant financial consequences for the firm. And how does this conflict with lenders? So lenders do not benefit from the company taking on higher risk and excessive risk, as they're not entitled to any of the upside that the firm could earn from bearing higher risk. So yeah, debt holders, one of the key characteristics of debt holders is that they receive fixed payments and they don't receive anything over and above that. If the company's super profitable, they don't get any more than their pre-agreed interest payments. You know, if you've got a debt contract and it's paying 3% interest, then the company could make, double the amount of profits that it typically makes, but the lender will still just receive 3% on their money. So debt investors prefer company managers to adopt more conservative strategies, taking actions to maximize the probability of making their debt interest and principal payments on time and in full. So that's what debt holders want managers to do. They want to prioritize generating stable, consistent cash flows, which are available to service debt. And they do not want the company to take on unnecessary risk in the pursuit of firm value maximization. So that's really where the conflict is most pertinent in terms of the objectives of the two parties and what they want out of company managers. So shareholders create conflict with lenders as they push management to pursue higher risk projects and often want the company to utilize its full debt capacity, as increasing leverage can increase the shareholder return potential. So increasing company leverage can increase shareholder upside if the firm performs well. And this is because shareholders can earn unlimited returns. If the company performs well and the firm is highly leveraged, then the shareholders will take home higher returns as a result. Whereas lenders see no upside from a company increasing their leverage to pursue higher risk projects. So lenders don't like it when firms take on more and more debt because it's putting their interests at risk purely for the potential benefit of shareholders. So lenders see no benefit from companies taking on more debt. They only see greater risk. So lenders prefer it when management invest in lower risk projects that increase cash flow certainty, ensuring that debt payments are made in full and on time. So that's what lenders want. They want cash flow certainty, low risk, not necessarily they don't want the firm to take on no risk because they want the firm to generate cash flows, and look, firms have to take on risk to generate profit, but they want the firm to take on considered conservative levels of risk that prioritize cash flow generation and ensure that the debt payments can be made to the lenders. Another conflict that can arise is that shareholders want higher dividends. So shareholders want dividends to be maximised, and the problem is that companies that pay higher dividends will implicitly increase company leverage. And the reason why is because if you think about the leverage ratio, let's think about this mathematically for a second. So the leverage ratio equals D over E. And remember that E is your shareholders' equity plus retained earnings. And if you're paying dividends, then your retained earnings is going to go down. So if your retained earnings is going to go down, your equity is going to go down, and then your leverage ratio is going to increase. So this again will increase the risk for debt because you've got less equity buffer on hand to deal with losses, you've got less cash on hand. So implicitly you're increasing leverage by paying out a dividend, and if you decide to, company managers approve higher dividend payments, you're implicitly increasing corporate leverage. So debt investors will keep an eye on dividend payments and will look to ensure no excessive distributions are being paid to shareholders. So dividend payments they want to be not too excessive. And also lenders have no voting rights. So a shareholding in a company comes with votes, so you can vote on key corporate resolutions, whereas debt does not. Debt does not come with any voting rights nor a board seat. So lenders have absolutely no control over the strategic decisions being made by the board of directors or the executive management team. They just have no control over what the company strategy is, what the objectives are. So how do debt holders get around that? How do they protect their interests? So what they'll do is, written into the debt contracts, they will place restrictions and covenants into the debt contracts, mandating a few different things. So they will mandate minimum levels of cash flow coverage for debt payments. That is known as the interest coverage ratio. So they want that to be high. So that means that the operating profit that a company generates needs to be high enough to be able to meet the firm's interest payments. So that's a covenant that lenders will often place into a contract. They'll also restrict the amount of debt that a company can take on by placing upper limits on the firm. So there may be something like you cannot take on any additional debt, or you can't have a leverage ratio any higher than 4 times your profits, something like that. So they'll place restrictions into the debt contract. And these restrictions will prevent management from making decisions that may benefit shareholders but are detrimental to lenders. Cool, so that's some of the conflicts that you find typically exist between lenders and shareholders in an organisation. You're thinking about things like dividends, risk tolerance, taking on more leverage. These are all things that can create tension between the providers of capital. And also we've covered some of the ways that lenders can insert provisions into their debt contracts that protect their interests. So hopefully that was all clear and made sense. Any questions, feel free to fire them off in the comments, and I'll see you guys in the next video.